All right, so we have again nationalism. We have, for the most part, a fair amount of economic freedom that exists, and those government or sorry the market sorry forces like supply and demand operate, and then we also have a lot of government oversight. Now, in the system, you also see that private property rights are still valued, like we would see in a capitalistic or a free market system. Now, there's an asterisk there because that doesn't always apply to everyone, but for the most part, there are still laws in place that protect your private businesses, right? It's your house, it's your business, it's your stuff. Somebody can't just come in and take it from you without some kind of compensation, right? Now, as we saw it during World War II, it makes it a little bit harder to imagine fascism in a peacetime situation, because we've only seen it used in wartime, in which the government could come in and say, we need your house for a base of operations and kick you out. But in peacetime, you wouldn't really see that, right? Though those extra circumstances wouldn't be happening during peacetime, and so your private property would be protected. Right now, that's has an asterisk next to it, and pretty much all of this does. Your freedom to do what you want economically, your ability to own your own business, your ability to have private property rights, that only applies to people that fit into the national identity. So one of the things with fascism and nationalism is this idea that there is a national identity, and that can be whatever the government sets it up to be. Now, as we've seen it in the past, that would mean here's what a German is, and only these people fit into the national identity. And that was one of the big reasons why they were rounding up the Jews and the gypsies and people who had different colored skin, or homosexuals, like anyone that didn't fit that identity. They took that to an extreme. Now, Italy also during World War II had this idea of a national identity, what it meant to be Italian, right? And they didn't take it to the same level that Hitler took it to. So you don't always have to see this mass genocide or execution of people that don't fit the identity. That is just one person and one group that took it to that level. But there is an idea of a national identity, and you belong in this state, right? That's part of that nationalism, right? If you're Italian, you should be living in Italy. And if you're not, then you should be going to wherever it is you're from, right? Because we only want people of that identity living in this country, because then they will value those national goals that meet the nationalism standards, right? So, like I said, with Germany, we had the idea of the perfect German, right? The Aryan race, and that they took that to the level. The second picture that's here of like, how can you tell if somebody is not? So these would be, how can you tell somebody's a Jew? Um, that would differentiate who do these rules apply to and who doesn't get access to this, right? So if you're not part of the national identity, a lot of this wouldn't apply to you, because their goal would be to get you out. We would want you to leave the country because you don't belong here, right? That's kind of the idea here. But if you fit in that national identity, then all of these freedoms, these rights, they apply to you. Now, two other main important goals here for fascist society would be self sufficiency and the military, right? They have a big push to be self sufficient. So, again, this goes along with this idea of nationalism, right? We want everybody of this national identity living here because we have the same culture, the same goals, and that's what is best for the state. And so we also want to make sure that the resources that are available in this system are used to make the products for this country and for this country alone, right? If we have a limited amount of resources in the world and everybody's competing for them, then in a fascist economy, you want to keep as much of those resources for your own people as possible, right? And so you don't want to be sending those products elsewhere, because then that means the people in your country have less available to them. So you want to make everything in your country, you want to make it available to the people of the country. There is not a lot of emphasis on trading, like foreign trade with other countries, because then they would have to send stuff out. And again, that is something that you wouldn't have then for your own people. So in order to survive, that self-sufficiency has to exist, right? And so going along with that, if you are fighting over scarce resources, you need to make sure that you're the strongest country so that you can make sure you keep your resources and, if needed, get more when you need that. So the big focus here would be building up your military, making it as strong and as best of a military as possible. Now, they're again not going to necessarily go in and say, do these things, make these products, but they're going to subsidize them, right? Subsidies are used by all governments. It doesn't matter what kind of economy they have, because it allows businesses to do what the government wants without the government forcing businesses to do it, because they're offering money. They're saying, again, we'll pay you to make these products. And so businesses, because they're driven by profit, are saying, okay, we'll do that, because in a fascist system, just like in capitalism, profit is a big motivator. There is the ability to make money for yourself. So even though it's not an individualistic society, there is still a chance for profit, and is still a chance to make money, and still a chance to raise your social class or your socioeconomic level. And so businesses, if they're getting paid by the government, are going to be willing to make whatever it is the government's asking them to. So you're going to see a lot of subsidies in weapons, because if you're building up your military, you need businesses to make those things. And so they're going to pay them or give them tax breaks. You're going to see it in energy sectors. You're going to see it in chemical, metal companies, things that are going to be great for the whole country. They're going to get heavily subsidized. All right, go ahead and go to the next video to finish up the lesson today.